go ahead and call this meeting to order. We've got a number of things to cover and want to get through them quickly and get on with our days. So we've got first order of business is the review and approval of minutes from the November 19th meeting. If everybody's had a chance to review those, entertain a motion or any discussion?
So moved.
Thank you. Second. Dave, was that a second? Okay. We have a motion second. Any discussion on the minutes? If not, all those in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. All right, the minutes are approved. And next up, we have the review and approval of the financials.
Good morning, RDA Board. Attached is the RDA budget and actual report as of November 30th, 2025. These reports present year-to-date budgeted and actual expenditures in the operating budget and actual expenditures in the capital budget. Revenues, expenditures, and other funding sources are reported once they are realized. As of November 30th, 2025, expenses are $151.32 for bond and contracted services, $250.67 for water service, $21,155 for bond costs, and special assessments for RDA owned properties located at First Street have been paid in the amount of $49,979.50. Total expenses are $71,536.49. Yearly bond payments have been made as of April. Land credits for Menominee Market and PNR properties will be applied soon. Attached is also an overview of the 2026 operating and capital budget for the RDA. So if you want to take a quick peek, and if any questions on that, please feel free to ask. Any questions?
No questions, then entertain. Oh, go ahead.
Just a quick question. How will those new funds show up on the financials that we see?
The new funds for like the 2026 capital?
Yeah.
So that'll just be an additional page.
Oh, okay.
So you'll still probably see the $348,000. I think we're gonna hold that one open, but then you'll see that $1 million additional project, and I'll have that as always a separate page to just kind of separate the two CIP projects.
Okay. Thank you. And then is there an operating budget for
Yeah.
for next year as well?
2026, we're looking at $209,540 for the RDA budget.
Okay.
It's bumped up a little bit to kind of cover the non-operating costs, which I'm just trying to increase for land credits, and then also the additional management of the $1 million capital funds.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I see that. Thank you.
Any other question? If not, entertain a motion approval of the financials.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the financials? Not. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The financials are approved. Next item of business, I believe, is the public comment for items that are not listed as public hearing or discussion. See nobody here in attendance for that, so go on to the next one, business items with public hearing or public discussion. Don't believe that. And then we're on to item 6, other business, the discussion of the new RDA development districts and potential redevelopment plans there. So, Billy, you're taking that for us?
I'm going to attempt to. So Aaron called me this morning, and he said nothing's changed from when it was presented to you last month. You guys had asked for some metrics. He felt that more of a site-by-site, with it being such a large district, would make sense. And here's the 2 maps. I think the second one, they added on a little more. Yeah, so his thought was if you guys are comfortable voting for it today without the metrics and then working on them case by case, wish I could do the whole presentation, but 30 minutes wasn't enough for me to figure out RDA altogether. So any discussion, any thoughts?
I think the only thing I was trying to figure out in there, and I couldn't, maybe somebody else who read it could help. I can't figure out where we ended on the landlord piece.
That part,
Got removed?
yeah, he said
Okay.
you guys didn't feel comfortable, so that was taken out, so.
So I believe there were other commission members that were a little more concerned about the metrics and having those inserted. So, you know, do those questions remain for the group?
Can I ask a question? And I don't think, Billy, you probably won't be very well suited to answer the question, but I don't know, Dave, maybe you have an answer. Is there any repercussion or consequence if RDA postpones this decision to the January meeting? You know, is there a reason we need to take action today?
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. I don't think that there are any negative ramifications. The budget's already passed. There aren't any more council meetings the rest of this year. So if it was elected to be postponed, we could just have that discussion again in January and then move forward from there. So I'm not aware of any negative consequences if this were postponed to January's meeting.
The two pieces of feedback I'd like to just share in contemplation of this coming back again. The key performance metrics section that was added, I'm actually fairly satisfied by because it gives us something to shoot for. I think it's just that we just don't know what the baseline is, and so we can continue to refine that and get to those so that we can have some measurements. So that isn't as much a concern for me at this point. I think I'd still like to see more of a phasing. I know we have the 5 years review, but I think still understanding, getting a better plan for how we're going to approach, even in the first year with the capital budget we have, what specific activities we're going to undertake in those first year or two. So it doesn't have to be extensive, but something that just a little more, that brings a bit more confidence to that next steps. And then the last thing I wanted to raise to the group was this being intending to be the affordable housing redevelopment district. I'm feeling a bit of mission creep with all of the mixed use and commercial discussion, and so I was wondering if there was a way to limit the focus of this to just affordable housing projects, so that in the future, if there are other commercial redevelopments that we want to take, that's a different district. This just seems kind of trying to think of the word for that, but just this is just too much, and I want to just make sure we're focused. I want this just to be. I would prefer this to be more of a focused effort for affordable housing within this district, and that's what the funds are coming to from City Council to the capital budget for. So let's make sure that our district is focused on that goal. That is the goal of this district. So I don't know if there's necessarily a risk, but I think there's maybe just an attention thing of like, let's focus on the thing we're supposed to focus on. Is maybe my feedback.
Could you, like, I'm a little, what do you mean by a new district if there's commercial? Like, to me,
So like within this,
understand.
within this district, the way it's written now is that if there was any project on any property, I know there's talk of various redevelopment opportunities within this large area. And so theoretically, the idea is we could undertake that project within this district, even though we only have funds for affordable housing.
So
So
this
it-
would be a specific, like, if there's a commercial project that did not want to include affordable housing, we would have to make a new district.
Yes.
Or the flip is anything redeveloped in here would have to have a piece of affordable housing to it.
Yes. Yes, maybe that's the more positive way to say that, is that this is, any projects
Yes.
we would only support them or be a part of it through the affordable housing funds and lens of this district.
And I like what you're saying because of the capital dollars, which one of my notes is, at some point we have to decide what is affordable housing?
Yes.
And how are we going to spend the $1 million on whatever, what definition are we using to decide what that is? Correct. But I think you're gonna, right, as you read the metrics, I think we still have to get down to the, what metrics, yeah, what is the definition around affordable housing? And then part two is, if next year the council wants to allocate $2 million to the RDA like they normally do without the caveat that it has to be housing, to your point, right, how do we still use a district that we, you know what I mean, how do we then use those dollars without creating another district? Do we just modify, do we leave the district and right now it's the focus in your phases is
Yeah.
affordable housing,
Yeah.
but then next year if it's like, hey, here's $2 million, we want, because truthfully, in some of these areas, you're gonna want commercial development just to raise the tax roll. You're gonna want a little bit of both. So I don't know how easy it is to modify a district if we limit it, or if we
Yeah.
just phase how we're gonna spend money over the next couple of years.
I think you can change the activity, you can change the district plan. I think if there was a project, there's been that discussion of that industrial property kind of west of the Cannery District. That should be its own redevelopment plan with its own redevelopment funds targeted towards that project. So if there was, in my mind, if there was an opportunity for a project, we would say, here's a potential district, and then we would tell the city council, these are the funds we need. And that's how that would, I would imagine that to work. Maybe that's, Attorney Nick's not here to maybe kind of correct my process, but, we have funds for affordable housing, that's the focus. So let's make this tight on, this is an affordable housing district.
And I think, like, when we had talked about this, instead of being a traditional, at a staff level, with Director Wade, this isn't like the North Barstow redevelopment, we're wiping out, redeveloping whole blocks of things, and this was a piece by piece. And reading through the introduction, it's full of references that this is a housing first, affordable housing first district, and that's the goal of it. Eliminate. So with this being a parcel by parcel district throughout the entire city, instead of anticipating a whole block here, a whole block there, I think that ability to add in commercial wasn't intended to be the emphasis, but if something made sense that came along, it would have given the RDA board at least the flexibility of addressing that or including that if they so chose without having to create a new one. But it could leave the door open for a different focus away from housing something like that came along where there's a neighborhood business that would go in, or, whatever it would be, that I think is the spirit of this, whether or not it's captured in language on here, to your point, to prevent what I agree with your point. You gotta focus on what it's there for, not what else it could be. There's a lot of niceties, what we'd like to do, but what we need to do is focus on the needs.
If I understood a bit of the evolution of the plan in the district there, it was to strike that balance between both of those objectives. It was not to carve out and say, this is going to be exclusively affordable housing focused. I mean, never using the word exclusively, but it never pointing in that direction. I think that came from how the city in its capital improvement plan decided to allocate dollars for the RDA. And so we've got one pool of funds that's hanging out here and available to us for affordable housing issues, but we still have a base of assets, investments in land and so forth here that doesn't go away unless we choose to grant it all away in terms of incentives and so forth. And so that there are those resources as well. And I don't think that our anybody this is opinion, this isn't a fact, but I don't think that our hands are so tied by the affordable housing side that we don't have opportunities to do things. And so I'd be a little bit leery, for example, the piece adjacent to the cannery, the industrial building we've talked about numerous times up there. I don't know that we have the finances to do that, but I wouldn't want to definitionally exclude that possibility from RDA activities, by narrowing the scope on this district, because I think the idea had always been, we don't want to do a piece-by-piece redevelopment district for a specific property. We want to do areas, and so this bigger plan was kind of a compromise towards that. I don't know what the answer is in terms of defining it, and maybe it's to the point of saying, our shift in focus is primarily affordable housing, but in this district, but it doesn't have to be kind of I don't think we want to move to an exclusivity that way.
Is there interest in affirming that the intent is for projects that occur in this district are to have an affordable housing component? Even mixed use?
I think because of the way the funding's written, we're a little like it's almost like we're gonna have a couple funding pools that whoever's in accounting is gonna have to deal with. But I think if you do something like that, then when we have other funding available, we're then having to repeat the process of districting, right? When we already recognize we have other funds currently available. We recognize there's pieces within this project also that probably would not fit in affordable housing initiative, right? Like, so do we go create two then, same districts, but one uses this funding, one uses this? I mean, it's sort of a...
I guess maybe I'm thinking of examples of like the South Barstow district, like the south of Lake Street. I mean, we've talked about, these other pockets of districts that maybe if it's an affordable housing project, it fits here, but if there are other mechanisms or other, I guess, is it appropriate for, as the question I'm wrestling with, is it appropriate for us to take this approach with a virtually citywide district to take on areas like that may be more appropriate as a single district. So does this just, is the ease of administration appropriate, I think is what I'm trying to understand.
I think you're back to where we started, right? Because this is so big. We've never done it, and you'll have South Barstow's in here, right? So I mean, it's kind of like you've laid over this district that you can't really just say it's exclusive to affordable housing, because you certainly know that there are districts within this district that you might go in and say, here's 4 blocks, we do want to buy them, raise them, and turn that into, and it could be some affordable housing, it could be some commercial. So I think the clarification here is, to Jenny's point, there's dollars that are affordable housing, and if we lay over this big, huge district, is this helpful? Is this more helpful to the city to have a bigger zone and to the RDA, or is it more complicated? And maybe that's just an Aaron question, right? Like, does this just get more complicated because it's written so that it's affordable housing, but yeah, we clearly know west of the cannery, there's places in here where you're gonna do commercial. Does this just allow them to shift the focus, but because it's not exclusive to housing? Because it's a huge district. I mean, this is a very large footprint around everything, and you're gonna have a little bit of all of it in there. So is this, I don't wanna say harmful, because that's not the right word, but I mean, is it helpful or harmful to have it be so big that you then just, really, it's kind of the magic fairy wand to say, okay, here's where we're gonna go, and we don't have to come back in and change a zone? I don't know.
And maybe to that point, the question is, is there a parallel between what we talked about for the river, the industrial area, the sand mine, where we've got kind of 3 focus areas with it, but it's one district there. I see that it's potentially a parallel, ease of convenient, administration and so forth, that, by definition, okay, you lump these together, but we've got really 3 different focus pieces there. You've got this large area, but you can have focus built or developed within that, in that effort. So, but it may be a question for Aaron.
I know, to the question of, the large size of this, part of the staff thinking with this is a lot of the properties that would potentially be targeted for affordable housing would be available to the city either on the tax rolls from the county, if they're delinquent on taxes, we get first choice at those, or be placarded by the health department or buildings inspections. And then the third leg of the stool would be existing parcels that the city owns that are vacant, that we may have bought a house for a street project, remove the house, and the remaining lot still remains, but now with our zoning code change, we can put a structure on there. So part of the overall size of it was to allow for the maximum exposure of those properties to come to the RDA, as well as try to encompass the different areas that we would anticipate having those opportunities, chiefly through placarded houses, and we keep a database of the referrals from the health department and from inspections. So we wanted to have areas of the city that seem to have a higher incidence rates of those, and they're all over. They're not in one area. There's some on the north side. There's some on the south side by Soccer Park. So it was just, it wasn't an effort to not be focused. It was more of an effort to try to get as many opportunities and be able to choose the best ones for that. And then a smaller extent of that is to not have affordable housing congregated into one area, to have it more spread throughout the community. So, but yeah, it's 70% of the city, so it's a lot of area out there to go through.
I wanted to also offer, I agree that the intent, I think, of this district was really focused on affordable housing, and I feel comfortable and, quite confident that that's reflected in the plan right now. And I do think, especially with consideration of some of the points raised about future funding sources maybe not being so limited to affordable housing specifically, and, kind of how could that fit into the plan? What would we in the plan want to make sure is, I guess, eligible, an eligible use of those funds that aren't so restricted? And I do think, there's something to be said about commercial properties and how, although they might not be creating new affordable housing units, they can create more affordable neighborhoods. I think about some commercial things like grocery stores and childcare providers. And so I think I see the value of including, some language that would allow for that type of flexibility. I do think it'd be helpful maybe to clarify, at least a broad intent across every project as part of this district, having some link back to affordable living, affordable neighborhoods, community connectedness, because those things matter too. And so I guess I don't know that I have something really specific, like a specific piece of feedback to offer about how exactly to accomplish that. But I guess my 2 cents on the issue is I see value and I see that, how commercial properties can link back to affordable living for people in Eau Claire. So I see both sides of the issue.
Thank you. Then I really like where this conversation's going, and it's bringing me more confidence in this. And I think kind of comparing this to the previous, and I really liked that link of having there are noticeable sections of the prior plan, and so the section F, future land use map, is where that occurred in the previous plan. Maybe there's an opportunity to do the same sort of thing in this one, to say, in this, here are, it was easy to call out certain sites in the other one, but it's sort of that, maybe we do call out South Barstow, south of Lake Street, or west of the Cannery District, or North Forest Street neighborhood. Different. Maybe there's an opportunity to call those out so that we can be more specific about what we're trying to do in these areas.
Towards that end, I guess, as I try to keep the meeting on topic and focused, am I sensing a consensus that we'd like to continue this discussion with Aaron and postpone approval on this until January's meeting? So, I'm not sure. Do we do that with a motion or lack of action?
I'd offer I guess a motion to postpone action on this item until the January meeting, with discussion at that time.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of postponements signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The motion to postpone is approved.
For feedback for Aaron, I got a lot of notes, but if I put it in a high level, you guys like the affordable housing, you want the focus to be there, but you also want something defining to allow commercial where appropriate. Okay, got it.
Keep that, and if there were opportunities to call out or highlight areas, just as we had discussion around the southwest quadrant or whatever of the city, kind of 3 sub-projects or whatever, if there were an ability to at least create a few focus points that might be helpful for future boards to discuss. I think all this ultimately comes down to an RDA board that can selectively approve or deny opportunities that can, maintain an affordability of housing focus in any of those projects. But if we're setting a mission and we're setting a plan, let's try to get that built in as much as we can. So.
That and phasing.
We got that.
All right. I believe, any other questions, Billy, as you're trying to offer
Nope,
that?
I think I got it. Good conversation.
So, any updates then from the Brownfields assessment grant update?
I don't have anything. He didn't share anything this morning unless Dave would know anything.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with that as intimately as Aaron is. So I have no update.
executive director's report, we'll.
You guys are doing great. Keep it up.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. With that, I see that our next meeting date is scheduled for January 21st. I think I would only add the comment that, any other feedback, let's make sure that we're offering that directly to Aaron as well. Direct communications from any of us to him in terms of refinement here ahead of that meeting. And then I will entertain the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, motion is made, accepted. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Used to do that with Scott Allen. I would do Hawk and it would